Welcome to this week's episode of Simply Defensive. I'm Josh Mason, and with me is my co-host, as always, Wade Wells.
What's up?
And joining us today, we've got FedX. Sir,
How you doing today?
Hey, man. So right off the bat, we have crossed paths in several different communities, right? And you've made comments on my training class. We'll not repeat, maybe later. But so one thing where you did tell us how much your internet is earlier, but off stream. So where are you located?
I am actually at, Florida. I am Central Florida.
Okay. How does Central Florida get such great internet? It's BS. All right. I live
To
in.
to be honest with you, I can only get for the longest only 40 megs down on and 20 up,
Ooh.
which was through the cable company. And at some point, the telco company, the maximum they can get me here, it was 1.5 megs. And so they started running fiber. And
Ah.
And I
Man.
actually work in the industry. But in one of my many jobs, I worked as a lineman for one of the telco companies. So I was a pole dancer, and
Okay.
it was not about keeping you. It was actually dancing the pole, and it was about keeping you connected and making sure you got great reliability. But yeah, I got contacts, and I called the guy. I said, hey, when this thing gets live, I want to be the first one connected to that GPON. And sure enough, they got my connection. I think I'm number one, number two in the actual GPON for my whole neighborhood. And when the technicians show up to do the connection, I told them, I do not want you to touch anything. Just leave everything here. We test it right here. And I take care of my fiber inside. So he just got it to the demarcation point, and then from there, I took all the installation inside my house. I don't even use their own modem. I use my own network.
nice.
So that today, actually, I was talking to a buddy because I use my own modem as well, right? And I bought it in 2020, whatever the most recent DOCSIS cable modem there was. And I realized I finally made my money back on buying the modem because they charge you like $5 to $10 a month, right? So I'm like, man, it's been like 20 months. But anyways, enough about internet.
But it's already outdated because they got DOCSIS 4.0. So you're probably running 3.0, and you're probably
All right.
outdated.
You're absolutely right. I am on 3.1, I think. So thanks a lot. Now I'm gonna have to go reinvest.
And I'll be honest to you, in your case, I will not reinvest. I will let them put the modem and get my own router. Because you can
Well, I
get
have my own router.
Okay,
I don't, but you got to charge them. They charge you for the modem too, and then they want the
Oh.
combo. They do here. It's different. We only have one internet company, and it's a monopoly. But we're talking too much about internet. Let's talk about.
See, and that's the problem
right?
with monopolies. That's why I hate monopolies.
So,
Go ahead.
FedX, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know a little bit about you, but for the folks who are listening and who are watching, you don't need to share exactly where you work if you don't want to, but like generally, where do you work and what's your role there?
So let's just take the first question out of the bat. Why FedEx? My name is Federico Castro. Spanish for Frederick. And when I was dating my wife, one of her cousins say, "Ugh, that's a long name to say. I was gonna call you FedEx." And here I am, I don't know, 18 years later, it's still FedEx. But that being said, I always say it's easy to remember FedEx because you won't forget FedEx. You will forget my name. You will butcher my name, but you will not butcher FedEx. So that's the first thing, because I know people ask me now, what I do right now is I'm a security analyst. That's my current title. But
security titles don't mean anything though, right?
Exactly. Because I work for an industry that does insurance. And the company that I currently work for, we have a great big team. Compared to the size of the company. We're a huge IT department, but each one has their specialization on what we do. And that being said, I do blue team, I do SOC, I do GRC. I also help in the desktop department, and I'm sometimes tell the user, have you turn off and turn on the computer?
Oh, that's gross. I feel for you. I don't from working from small teams and big teams nowadays, I honestly kind of miss the small team, right? Like being well connected to all like it sounds like you're situated where if you ask like one or two questions, you could probably know anything going on in the network or get something passed. Is it that well? Yeah, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I could truly say that I have a direct if I can actually call directly my CEO of the company and say, hey, I need you to do this. Um,
Nice.
and the
Click this
guy
link
know
for me.
and the guy knows who I am.
And-
Not that I'm actually skipping my boss anytime. I actually go through my boss
course.
and through my channels, but yes, it's that kind of type of relationship. So
Okay.
in a way, I can ask a question and get answers.
Do you think with that small of a company and like that much of a relationship, you have a lot more power as security or less?
That's a good one. I
Like, can you enforce stuff? Can you enforce stuff quicker than you think a larger company or pivot?
I can I can pitch an idea faster for sure, but
You can
I
pivot.
when it comes to people, in a way, people is already set to certain methodologies and ways, so you can come to a company thinking that you're just gonna change everything from night to day. I mean, it took. I honestly say it, I've been 3 years on the company, and it took me more than my first year to actually start doing what I got hired to do because I was
Wow.
still learning the process. I was still learning, the industry that they work at. I didn't come from that type of industry. Um, and until this day, I really don't know exactly all the ins and out of what a regular person does in the industry. I know how to
Hmm.
serve the IT needs and the applications and the network that we have. But if you throw me to do their job, I'd be
Yeah.
clueless.
I've worked 2 jobs where pretty much that's exactly the thing. I just know, like, secure things and, if red light turns on, what's happening? Like, that's pretty much my job in a nutshell, most companies.
Yeah, and I think this is what we all are at this point in cybersecurity is you start learning their applications because each company will have different type of tools, applications, and things that they actually already been working with an X, Y, and Z vendor,
Mhm.
and you had to learn its procedure. Even if you well knowledge already on that application, you had to learn how that application is applied for the business that you are in at the current
Mhm.
time. Because you know, um, when you do an assessment of how a company is doing or running an application, sometimes you figure out, well, I know this application is capable of doing that, and they're gonna tell you, but that's not what we do here.
Mm.
And you either say, okay, well, let me present to you why do I think you should do this, or okay, no problem, I'll shut my mouth and walk that
I've
line.
definitely yeah, I've definitely come across that where, like, that's not part of our company culture. Like, it's not part of the company culture to, like, defang links. Like, okay, then, we'll see what happens when compliance, hits us or something, but,
Yeah.
All right,
um
and I work in companies smaller than that, where you try. They call you, say, "This is what we want you to do. This is how we want you to implement uh, our policies and technologies because we got an auditor that tells us this is what we're supposed to do." They gave me a great title. Director. That
yeah.
sounds that was like this level. Maybe not getting paid that level, but it was great
Mhm.
title. Um, and then you go and try to implement it, and the guy on top say, "No, that's not what I'm gonna do because it's my company." And you're like, okay, well, what can you do?
Yeah.
So, you wear many hats. What would you want to do the most, at least, like, blue team
Mm.
wise, right? Like,
Ooh,
if you had a day where no one was emailing you, no one was messaging you all day to fix left and right?
Mm.
What would you be doing all day?
is it valid to say asleep?
Yes, yeah, you cannot sleep, you cannot sleep.
All awake.
I guess I like actually finding the puzzles, you know, actually doing the threat hunting and doing a little bit of that CTI, looking for those anomalies on the network and going through the rabbit holes. For someone that has ADHD, is, you know, is definitely something that caught my attention. So, you know, I see a little flickering red button or a little anomaly. I'm like, oh, what is this? And then you open and, oh, this opened another door and another door. And ooh. And then it turns out not to be a false positive. But then, you know, next thing you know, I was like, whoa, have I actually gone to the bathroom today? Have I actually eaten a lunch? Like,
That's the best.
I
That's the
spent
best
4 or 5
feeling.
hours in here and didn't even realize it's been this long.
That is like one of my favorites, when you just completely go down the rabbit hole and just like lose what time it is. The only other time that's really like happened to me is like playing video games or something like that. But when it happens at work, it's like a special feeling because you're actually productive in life. At least sometimes, right?
I feel really productive doing that stuff. And then it's actually rewarding when you had a hunch and you go down the rabbit hole and you discover something that potentially could have had harmed your company or becoming a bigger problem, and you were right on the channel to just patch the hole or to prevent it. I mean, it's just super rewarding to find those little, I mean, getting those flags, you know, it's super rewarding to get those little things. It's also super rewarding when you tell your boss and they're like, thank you for letting us know. We didn't know this was happening. So, you know.
Yeah. Coming and be here.
Right? And especially like with threat hunting, right? Because you're not just at the end of the day, you're not just looking for hackers, but you're looking for weird stuff on the network, whether that be a hacker or a misconfiguration. Remember like one time hunting through the network and then all of a sudden stumbling across a shit ton of like IPv6 traffic. And I was like, what the heck is this? Why is there IPv6 traffic? I looked at my boss. I'm like, do we have that in the network? He's like, no, we don't have any IPv6 in the network. I'm like, uh-oh. And next thing you know, I figured out someone flipped the wrong switches somewhere. And then, of course, opened a hole and then full-blown investigation. But a lot of the times, that's I'm right there with you. That's probably what I would be doing, is just threat hunting all day. Maybe programming nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little bit older.
But. And I'm learning a little bit of programs and, you know, creating some code to make an application work in your network, or being able to hit a push of a button in the application. Now it just shows up in that computer and it works, and you make it work and you're like, and then going through the frustration of why is it not working? And then, oh, you know what? I forgot to do this little detail. Sometimes that you find the little details is what actually gets you. Right. So it is rewarding to get those little winning situations. We having a party.
Yeah.
I know, like, right?
Sorry, my camera's
if you're listening to audio version, you don't know. Josh's camera is flickering and probably going to give someone a seizure on the video version, but it's okay.
I'll fix that in post.
Okay, that's fine. Just a picture of you, like right when everything's flipping, of you just smiling.
There's tools. There's tools. So,
but yeah,
FedX,
I think that those things are amazing.
How did you get started in cybersecurity?
Oh, by dumb luck. It was just, I fell into it, to be honest with you. I think I'd done it all backwards. A lot of people say you go to school, you get a career, you figure out what you're going to do, and then you do it. I myself was working construction, and I thought I went for a construction job. And when I started, I think it was 16 plus years that I started in the IT field, not necessarily cybersecurity, because at that time, cybersecurity wasn't really a title or a name. It was just IT. Everything was IT. I went from this interview and I thought it was a construction company. I'm barely speaking English because English is now my first or second language. It's actually my third language.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the guy who started interviewing me and say, let me call somebody that speaks Spanish so you can continue talking. That's how I actually met one of my greatest friends, Julio. So,
I feel like that's a good company though, if they actually do that right, instead of like you just go down the rabbit hole. Like, we might as well get someone in here and like
Yeah, no,
make sure this guy's
he
good.
just called his right hand man, and the guy say, "Well, what do you know about this? This is what we do." And I was like, "I don't know how to do none of that stuff. I work construction." And he's like, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna tell the guy you know how to do it, and I'm just gonna guide you through the first days, and it's easy."
Ah,
And I
dude,
was
that is
like,
so great.
"Say what?" And it sure enough, the guy literally say, "Oh yeah, yeah, he knows how to do the job. He knows how to." And at that time, it was more hardware. So it was
Mhm.
it was all in hardware. He was running cables, doing
Okay.
physical security and everything. So he's like, "You listen, a monkey can do this. This is how we're gonna train you." And that's how it started in the IT field. From there, I moved into working for uh, different other companies. But in one of those companies, they basically pay for training and send me out to learn, you know, networks. And so that's one of those things that if the company is giving you the opportunity to learn, always take that opportunity, because that's actually what inspired me at that point. I say, okay, I can do this and I can make that much money, but I don't have a degree. So let me keep working and let me go get a degree. And that's how I started my degree career. And in the middle of taking my associates, that's when the term cybersecurity come in, and they say, "Well,
Okay.
you can do cybersecurity or you can do programming." And I was like, "Ooh, that sounds,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That was my
I
same
like.
thing.
Let me get this one. Let me get this one."
Wait, how much math do I have to do? No, I'm definitely not going that way. That was pretty
That's exactly my point. And
yeah,
little do you know, I mean, even in cybersecurity or networks, you're still doing some math, but it's I can
side
understand this
cider
math.
ranges and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I can understand this math. I don't understand the other math. And so, yeah, that's how it physically started.
And, what year did you start going to school at, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, 2011. And I
2011?
actually
Okay.
just graduate a month ago with my bachelor. So you can tell
Nice,
that it's
nice.
been almost 12 years going to school
12
part
years?
time.
Hey, man. Okay, no, dude, was most of it online, or did you have to take a lot of it in person? Because I feel like 2011 is, like, when online stuff kind of started kicking in,
Yeah,
but still wasn't full blown.
so I started with the Phoenix University back then,
Okay.
and it was 9 weeks courses, and then for somebody that had ADHD, I realized, oh man, I'm in trouble. Actually, that was actually when I got diagnosed with ADHD, an official diagnosis, because everybody said you had it, but I never had an official diagnosis,
Mhm.
and when I started failing classes, like literally failing D's and F's, and they were gonna put me in academic probationary thing.
Mhm.
They're like, we think that you might you will benefit to go get diagnosed. Sure enough, they diagnosed me. They got we found the right medication, and it was like a light bulb turned on. I was able to concentrate. I was able to sit down. I was able to retain the material. And then I went from being an F student to actually maintain president lists and dean lists pretty much for throughout the rest of the my career.
Nice.
I did found that because my ADHD, I found it easier to come back to a community college here local and get some math, for instance. That was a
Mhm.
class that I did not take online. That was a class
Mm.
that I took in person because
Yeah, I
I
could
know I
see that.
struggled.
Yeah. I couldn't
And
imagine taking class online.
well,
I'm old enough that
I
all
don't
men
think
were in
that yeah.
person.
I think now that because I remember taking my very last math class, and it was a statistics class, and also at a junior college, right? And I remember passing it and being like, "I never have to take math ever again." And I that was before online college was still taking off.
Mhm.
And also, like, I did the same thing as you. I tried. I okay, so I just finished school 2 years ago, even though it was a little bit higher, but it's rough, especially going to school and working at the same time. More
and
power
great
to
and
you for
growing a
actually doing
family.
that.
I
Yeah, man,
work
I
full time. I had a family. I have a wife, 2 kids. So I yeah, it was nice. It was definitely coming at nice and do school and taking 2 classes at a time. And for the last 2 years, I was actually more um I really want to get my degree done.
Mhm.
You know, I knew I was taking too long, so I wanted to get my degree on, and I just went and started taking 3 classes at a time for semester, and
All
some
right.
of those
So,
it was rough.
so the big question, right? In cyber, does the degree really matter? Or do you think it was worth it? Do you think it was worth it?
You know, you had to
'Cause
come.
honestly,
You had to come back to that question in about a month when I get my diploma and I see how much my boss is gonna give me for it.
man, it's gonna be a to
But
be continued.
but I did
Okay,
tell them.
okay.
But I did went back to tell them and say, hey, by the way, I already got my diploma, so start thinking how much am I worth to you guys.
Yeah, like
I
because
was really bold and asked for it. But no, okay. So in
you've been in the
cyber,
field for a while now, right? Like that experience trumps education for how long you've been in now.
oh no,
That and
yeah,
you're just getting past the HR firewalls pretty much with it. But
and
honestly,
yes,
if you're already prompting him, right? Like it's a smart move.
I even prompted this morning as I say, hey, by the way, because he asked me, so what are your plans? And I say, well, you know, now that I finished, I'm waiting for my diploma. I'm waiting to see how much it's worth it for you guys, and also probably I want to get some certifications. I mean, I had take all the pre-requirements for a lot of certifications,
Mhm.
and I had zero certifications. So when it comes to that question, is it important to have a degree? I would say yes and no. And why would I say that? It's a bad answer, but yes, because you know, right now everybody's asking you to have some sort of degree. Unfortunately, it's not like it used to be where you can get hired without an actual school degree and be able to start on a career field. Even if you start from low and grow from there.
Mhm.
So a lot of minimum they asking now for a bachelor's. Not necessarily in IT, it's just a bachelor's. That's
Mhm.
exactly what many companies are. Now, does it require to be? No. I think experience definitely
Yeah.
is a big, you know, and
So one I'll ask you one particular thing. I don't feel like most schools, very little schools, teach any defensive
oh
classes,
Mhm.
no, I didn't
right?
learn
So
anything there.
okay. That was gonna be my next question because like at least most colleges I'm seeing, the defense stuff is few and far between. But mainly, I don't know because tools are expensive, right? There's actually some setup required most of the time. You got to get data. Whereas a red team, you can literally download a vulnerable VM, grab Kali Linux, and you're good to go.
I have
But they don't even
I have
teach you that.
plans.
But they don't
You have
even teach you
plans?
that. That I don't I okay, so maybe maybe I get boo for this, but it's a paper. I did not learn much
No,
in
you're
school.
no booing here. I agree with you.
I probably learned. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did probably learn how to structure my documents and how to write properly. Even though I still ask ChatGPT to say, "Hey, can you make sure it's grammarly okay?" Because you know,
Yeah.
I still mix my words. I still make horrible grammar
Eh,
mistakes.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
There's a big reason why I don't have a bunch of blog posts, and that will say that's one of the bigger ones. I am for some reason I struggle with any type of writing. When I was a security analyst for like a managed security provider, I figured out that like they had HTML inside our notifications and then had tags where it would autofill stuff for you. And I realized I don't have to write out these huge reports for these people. I can just autofill with all these tags and just write a script. So yeah, writing sucks.
There's
It's
nothing
stupid.
wrong with utilizing the tools.
Mhm.
You know, utilizing the tools that will make your job more efficiency. There's nothing wrong with that. It's also being able to think outside the box because the tool is just a tool,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and this is what I think that is important in cybersecurity, especially in cybersecurity blue teaming, is being able to think outside the box, not staying directly on this is my parameter, this is what I
Yeah.
had to do, and that's what I'm gonna stick to it
It's
because
yeah.
in reality, you had to think like a red teamer. You have to. They're not gonna play. They're gonna play dirty, and you have to be able to think outside that box.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back. I was talking to Jibby, who's another person we interviewed, but I was talking to him at Blue Team Con. And the way, so he runs KC7, which is like a blue team CTF that teaches Cusco. And the way I think of that CTF is it's teaching me Cusco, and it's teaching me therefore how to use Microsoft products, right? That's how it's locked in my head, which is it's not false. But what's interesting is the way he thinks about it is it's teaching you how to hunt. It's teaching you the logical of if you see X, Y, and Z, go after A, like that means there's an artifact there, right? More of the methodology of hunting. But I after talking to him deeply about that, I realized it's because I already have that, and I'm coming at this KC7 stuff as an experienced person, not as someone who has no clue what to look for already.
Oh, wow.
Which was an interesting take.
Yeah.
Where, right?
Like,
Yeah, and I do see that you do have to have some sort of knowledge and background, because it does help you. I wouldn't have gone to where I am if I didn't have a background. I mean, even in my entry interview for my current company, they asked me a question and I blank. I walked out of that interview thinking that I was not gonna get that job, but my answer to that question was like, "Look, I don't have the answer, but I can Google."
Yeah, that's
So
always talking about
using
how
the
you get it
tools.
down.
Using the tools and being able to have some common knowledge and being able to have some basic knowledge. I mean, if you do want to work in IT, you need to know why it's important to turn off and turn up that computer. I mean, it really sounds dumb because we say that all the time to our users, but there's a logic behind. There's a reason why we ask them to do that. There's a reason why we ask them make sure
you
you use
why.
your password.
Yeah,
There's a reason why we ask them use your password, know your biometrics to log in, because it's the network, how the network works. So I
There's
think
also
this
a
has to be
time
some
not
common
to
knowledge.
turn off. There is a time not to turn off, or to know when you should not turn off a computer. But that's a different usual scenario when you're trying to scrape memory.
Yeah, I was like, man, you're getting into some digital forensics.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
One thing I say for sure is I was blessed to have someone to give me the opportunity to start. I notice now in the market that a lot of jobs posting say entry level and they want you to have 2 to 3 years. And I mean, how can you ask somebody 2 or 3 years if they've never done it before?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably, yes, I had some background in IT and I run cables and I did network and I actually work for a telco company. So I know fiber and rent fiber and X and YC. But the reason why I really got into cyber was because someone actually took a chance on me and say, yeah, we'll let you play with our system live. And, we're trusting you. We're really trusting you to work with our network. And I'm like, And believe me, I spent a lot. I spent a lot of days sometimes before I did changes on that network. I spent time doing my research. I spent time it's testing in the smallest sizes of the network to make sure that I wasn't gonna screw up the whole network. And so, yeah, I mean, I was lucky that somebody gave me an opportunity.
Some risk evaluation right there is what that was, right? Anytime before I flip a switch, I'm like, if I flip the switch, will it bring down the whole network or just a couple people? And then like, I'd only bring down a couple people. Let's flip it and see what happens. But
I wonder if the CrowdStrike guy did the same thing when he flipped the switch.
He probably did. He probably did. What I've been blessed with some really good bosses in the past who are like, if you break something, but you are trying to make us more secure and you can argue it that way, I'll have your back. Like I've had two bosses say that, right? But I also didn't bring down all of production ever. So
and I think the most important thing overall is that you should own your errors,
Oh yeah.
If you own to your mistakes, that shows then a level of what do I say? It's just
ownership.
Yes, a level of
responsibility,
ownership.
right?
That's
Ownership
correct,
and
because I mean,
responsibility,
I didn't.
Accountability.
That's not what I meant to do, but I'm taking accountability. That is on me.
That's the word.
Because you don't actually want to be like, not me. Although we always have the joke saying that if something is not working, it's always an engineer problem.
Worked on my computer.
And then if the engine, if the engineers, they're like, oh, if something's broken, it's usually security's fault, right? At least that's been my life.
Yeah, and then
most of the
security
time.
say that it's a problem because it's GRC giving them hard
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Oh, it's just a vicious circle. It's always
Just
compliance.
Spider-Man pointing at
GRC's fault. Yeah.
So we're coming up on the end of our time here. I want to give you a couple options. I've got either what is like your favorite cyber tool, or what would you suggest other people like need to learn to like be effective in like cyber?
I mean, without
You can pick either
disclosing
one.
a lot of the tools, without disclosing a lot of the tools that we have, I love some of the tools that we have.
Yeah.
But tools cost money, and so, and when you get to a certain level on enterprise, I mean, your jaw drop when you see those prices.
Yeah.
So I would say learn and practice with the tools that you currently have. Become a master in what you currently have, because what you have is what's going to set you up to the next level. You
What
know,
if they don't have anything?
That's
but there's options. I mean, there's a lot of options on the internet. There is,
true.
you know, they are a lot right now. It's not like 15 years ago when we didn't have the availability to do virtualization, or we didn't have a company that will give you a training for pay as you can or YouTube. There was not that kind of resources. So if you do have the drive to get into the industry, attitude is everything. You know, if you come with the oh, but I can't do this and nobody's gonna hire me, you're not gonna get anywhere. You gotta change that attitude, and then you gotta work with what you have. Work with what you have, learn what you have, master what you have at the current moment, and that's gonna set you up to the next level. Because
that's huge.
The tools that I currently work with, I didn't have it before my previous job. So that's my point.
Yeah.
As you grow in the industry, you might be exposed to new tools, to new methodologies, networking. I cannot preach about the power of networking. You said it in the beginning. We cross paths in many places, and that's the reason why.
I was recently talking to some like upper echelon people in a meeting. I was very surprised I was invited to, and we were talking about networking. And I almost like feel like that term we should change. It shouldn't be networking anymore, right? Because when we tell newer people to go out and go networking, a lot of the times they're looking to meet people to find a job. And I think that's what a lot of the people are taking that as, like, you're networking in order to help you get a job. We need to come up with like a better word where you need to meet people in order to like experience the culture or just make friends.
Yeah.
Right. Like what is that term? Because the moment you start networking and you know this guy's about to give you his resume, you're like, oh, gosh, okay. Like you gotta figure this out, man. So, but
yeah, that's the reason why
I absolutely agree with you. That meeting people has probably been the biggest thing in my career as well.
That's the reason why I don't answer sometimes when my family call and say, "Hey, we have a problem." I'm like, "Okay, what broke?" Because they already know you're their go-to guy. You know.
Yep.
Everybody calls you for something to fix because they know the go-to guy. No, but they don't call you to be like, "Hey, we're gonna do a barbecue. Come over." No, they call you as like, "Hey, we need you to fix this."
I got my parents' company to go paperless, not because I thought it would be green and save them money, but because I didn't want to mess with printers in ever again. So
that's a smart choice.
Yeah.
we tried that in the Air Force too. With that exact same reason.
If I got one more thing to say, it is networking locally. There's power in your locals network. You know, the internet is great. Yes, you meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of weird stuff too. But getting involved in your local chapter, your local in your B-size, in your IC Square, or I mean, here in Central Florida, we're blessed that we have several groups. And I gotta tell you, I had gone to those. I sit down with them. I drink a beer. We talk. I met people that had taught me stuff that I should have had known and I didn't know, or had taught me a new trick. So create that network, start local, and grow from there. But there is an importance here on having that local connection as well.
Nice. Yeah. Can't agree more.
Preaching to the choir.
Dude, thank you for joining us, FedX. This has been awesome. We will chat with you again soon.
Hey, thank you for having me. I mean, I'm looking forward to keep collaborating and keep doing what we're doing.
We're gonna need to update once you get that degree too. So we'll to figure out what happened.
100%.
Yeah, we need to figure out what happened. But no, I thank you guys for inviting me here. It's actually really awesome. I keep looking forward to collaborating, making content, and you guys can go check out the YouTube channel that I opened recently. So
tell us more about your YouTube channel.
Pitch it. What is it? Yeah, pitch it. Go for it.
Well, the YouTube channel idea grows from Dr. Gerald's class of personal branding course. So definitely it was a combination between James McQuiggan and Dr. Gerald saying, hey, FedX, it's time for you to step out of your comfort zone and do something. You know, you got knowledge, you know a lot of stuff, and there's people that can benefit from it.
Those guys are dangerous.
Do I have to put closed caption every time I speak? Because, you know, my Spanglish. But yeah, that's where the YouTube channel comes from. So yes, it's a YouTube channel for GRC, for cybersecurity related content. It's just started maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it's just the FedX channel. So you go find it by the FedX channel.
The FedX. We'll link it.
We'll link it
because we don't want them to get in trouble with the other FedX. So
yeah,
that one's way less interesting. Sure.
But yeah, so if someone goes there to see the videos and make a comment, tell me what you want to see in the channel, and let's make that content. You know, I'm sure there is a lot of people interested on knowing how to get to the industry, how to advance, and I don't have all the answers, but guess what? I had grown a network of people that will help me out to get you that answer.
Excellent, man.
Legit.
Thank you all for joining us. And if you want to catch the next episode, like, subscribe, share with all your friends, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.